You'll find a Mets fan. Let's go. This is a Mets year for all your Mets here. Let's go. Bring it home. Bring it home. Bring it home
What is up, Mets fans? Welcome back to Talking Mets with Rob, and I got a few friends here. One is already here, and another one is on his way in just a little bit. But we got New York Sports Pod right here with us. Chris is here with us. We're gonna have the Shay and Sons podcast also tuning in and checking us out and having some fun talking Mets baseball. We are going to get Chris, and I just saw him pop up right now. There he is right there. There he is. All right, guys. So before we get started talking about our goddamn Mets, we are going to start talking about you guys because I want to introduce the audience to you guys. So you guys say your intros, let everybody know your name, your channel, podcast, all that fun stuff. Make sure you're off mute when you get started. So we're going to start with Chris and talk about your channel, your podcast, everything you got to talk about, and why you're a Mets fan. There you go, buddy. Take it away.
Yeah, so, I appreciate you having me on. I appreciate it, Rob. Became a Mets fan. I've been a Mets fan all my life. My father was a Mets fan originally, from Queens, now in the DMV area right now. But started up my Twitter page and my YouTube channel about a month ago. It's at CPNY Sports for both. Make sure you go ahead and give it a follow, give it a subscribe. But talking, just New York sports in general, obviously I'm a Mets fan first and foremost, but Giants, Knicks, Rangers, even get a little Jets and Yankees in there. The whole New York sports shebang you'll get with my channel, but definitely Mets. We got a lot to talk about today, so definitely interested in to get you guys' viewpoints. I'm excited for the show, and happy to have Keith on as well. So that's a little bit about me. I appreciate you having me on.
All right, buddy, you're next. What's up?
All right, I'm off mute, right? Okay, cool.
Yeah, you're good.
All right, well, I'm one half of the Shay and Sons podcast. My name is Keith. I run a podcast with my baby brother, who is 10 years younger than me. We grew up in a very strict Mets household, just like Chris said. Our father, diehard Met fan, so diehard he named me after Keith Hernandez. This is why I'm wearing the hat today, just to give you guys a little bit of a deep dive. Like, Keith Hernandez plays a big part in our household, back home. So me and my brother, 10 years apart, it's very interesting. You get two different kind of mindsets of, baseball. You get, a little bit more steroid era, kind of vibe, and you get more analytic era kind of vibe. So when you mesh that together, you kind of get a pretty good combination. I love, talking about the Mets, but I love talking about baseball more personally. I'm a huge soccer fan. That's like my number one sport, but like baseball has been with me since I was young, man. I mean, I remember putting up Ken Griffey Jr. posters in my bedroom, so that's as far back as I go. I'm a little bit of a historian. I something about baseball stats, like, and me, it's just, I love it. It's so cool. Just, the sport in general. So yeah, we just like to talk about the Mets. We just started our podcast. We're only 10 episodes in. We try to do one every week. We're doing it really more for fun. We just want to, have a good community to talk Mets baseball with and stuff like that. But that's all we're really up to do. But yeah, that's pretty much the whole shebang with me.
All right, perfect, man. So that's Chris. That is Keith. Hopefully, they keep on coming back for more, and we have some fun. Hopefully, it's a weekly thing, but we all got a lot of content to throw out there
Yeah.
from each one of our platforms. So again, whenever we get a chance to do this, we will do this, and it's always a lot of fun to talk to other Mets fans that are content creators because we all know that it's a lot of work to put in and it's not easy to do it, and we all know that, and then we get a lot of criticism as well, as we all know. So again, I got cursed out today with my with my short video that went out today, but hey, you got to take it, right? You got to take the good with the bad, right? We are Mets fans. We're so used to getting beat down, so there's nothing new when it comes to that. So when it comes to our New York Mets, and obviously there was some breaking news today with Tomas Nido getting DFA'd. I don't think many people were surprised about that. Obviously, Omar Narvaez is coming off the IL, and obviously having a tandem of Alvarez and Narvaez is a hell of a lot better than anything else the Mets thrown out there over the last 2-3 years. Let's be honest. So there were some people that thought that Daniel Vogelback was going to get DFA'd and the Mets were going to carry 3 catchers, as I'm assuming you guys actually thought that could have happened as well. But what are your thoughts about DFA'ing Tomas Nido over Daniel Vogelback, and why do you think the Mets didn't carry 3 catchers when you can put Alvarez's bat in the lineup every day if you had 3 catchers as DH 1 or 2 days a week and then have them behind the plate? So I'm going to start with you, Keith. What do you think about DFA Nido? Do you think it was a good move, or it was just it was either Vogelback or Nido, or do you approve of that move? What's your opinion?
So I'll be honest with you. I'm not the best Met fan when it comes to DFAing guys that deserve it, because I know in Metland we're very, very much like we have this like love affinity with the nice guy, and I generally don't care who's nice. I'm not. I don't want to be intense in any way, shape, or form. But if you're not cutting it, in my honest opinion, you could be the nicest guy in the world. You gotta go. So that is just how I felt. And Tomas Nido is Puerto Rican, just like me. And I know damn well I will ride out for him no matter what, but just not on the New York Mets. It's not happening. You're not good enough.
Okay.
Last year, he was second in the running for defensive gold glove at catcher. But, I mean, he was known as the best bunter on the team. Let's be honest. That's all he did last year. So, unfortunately, the time has come that we have one of the best prospects at the catching position on the team. We gave, I think, $15 million to Narvaez for 2 years. Yeah. You got to follow the money when it comes to, he was just the odd man out. Narvaez and Francisco Alvarez are both Venezuelan-born players. In spring training, they were both with each other like nonstop. So that was something the Mets probably wanted to keep together. And Tomas Nido was given opportunities to change the organization's mind. As it comes towards Vogelback, in my honest opinion, I would love nothing more to move on from him. But it needs to be for a position that's not catcher, because I never believed in the whole 3 catcher thing, because you're kind of shortening your team in some ways, because usually catchers are not the most athletic players. You don't really see a lot of MJ Melendez's out there who's, Kansas City Royals, who could play right field and could play catcher and could play first. There's not a lot of those out there.
Yeah.
So, in my opinion, if we're going to cut Vogelback, either it's for, Ronnie Mauricio in the farm, or it's because we acquire a better left-handed DH option, and then we can just, we can just replace the caliber player for another, for a better caliber player. For the 3 catchers, I think it's nothing. This is a perfect combination to have 3 or 4 games mixed between Alvarez and Narvaez, and you mix and match, in my honest opinion. Yeah. But I'll let Chris now take the reins. But yeah, that's just my opinion on it.
No, I definitely agree with a lot of what Keith said. I happen to be a guy who wouldn't be mad about the Mets carrying 3 catchers. I think it just boiled down to a little bit more of the lefty-righty kind of situation, and having that lefty bat, and because everyone loves the lefty-righty matchups, and if you know me, you know I don't like lefty-righty matchups. I don't care about lefty-righty matchups. I think it's an overplayed stat. I think it's an overplayed strategy, and I personally could care less for it. But Buck's going to be in his ways. We'll probably get to Buckonomics, as Keith has termed it, and we'll get to that. But I think it's a little bit overplayed, but I think that did have a part in the decision. And then, so, if they weren't going to keep three catchers, I was fine with that too. You got Perez down in the minors. You can get called up at any minute, and he'd provide the same production, if not more, offensively than Tomas Nido could. We could talk about the defensive metrics all day long, but as an offensive sort of mindset, you look at the NL East. You got Sean Murphy, you got Real Muto. I think it's Stallings for the Marlins, but then we have you're not going to convince me that Tomas Nido is going to be splitting time and platooning with a stacked NL East catching sort of group already over Francisco Alvarez. So obviously Francisco Alvarez has came onto the scene. It's his position. I love the point that you said because, Rob, about Francisco Alvarez being in the lineup every day, regardless if he's behind the plate or not. He's a very valuable DH option as well, regardless if it's Narvaez behind the plate or him. So I think that's something that I definitely look forward to as well. If Buck can get over sort of his mindset and make that happen. But obviously the righty DH position is a little bit crowded on the team. Now you got Vientos. We can get a little bit into him later if that's where the topics take us. But I think he could be a trade candidate. We got Tommy Pham, who could hop in there as a DH as well. So the righty spot from the DH, from the DH perspective, is a little bit crowded right now. That's why I think they wanted to balance it out with keeping Vogelback on the team. But I agree. I'm not sure if we're going to get to Ronnie Mauricio discussion today, but I'd bring the kid up for Vogelback in a second if that was on the front office's mind. But like I said, I think it's just a matter of the lefty righty, which I am not a fan of. And speaking to you all now, it seems like you guys are not a fan of either. But we know this sort of old school thinking that regardless who these decisions are coming from, whether it's Buck Showalter, Billy Epler, or a tandem of both, I don't agree with the sort of old school kind of thinking with these lefty righty matchups. But I think that's what it boiled down to. So that's kind of my take on the topic.
Yeah, I agree with you guys when it comes to the lefty righty thing. I can't stand it. It's way too analytical. And if when they got Vogelback last year, all they talked about was his on base percentage and how good he was against righties, and then also talked about rough against lefties, and they both were terrible against supposedly pitchers they were supposed to be good against. And it's stupid to me. It makes no sense. And I get the concept. But give me a guy who bats 270, who has a little bit of pop and can hit righties and lefties. I'll take that every day of the week because I'd rather have a 270 hitter who puts the bat on the ball and maybe something can happen than a guy just taking walks and striking out. And it's not like Vogelback's going to steal a base anytime soon. So, it just doesn't make any sense to me. And I bring it back that Mauricio point. And, yeah, we're going to talk about him for sure. Switch hitter, right? Technically, he's a guy that can just be put in the DH spot and leave him the hell alone. He's probably more valuable as a DH at the moment than Vientos is right now because clearly the Mets and Buck don't like Mark Vientos at all. And we are going to get to Buck Showalter just in a second. He doesn't like him, and it's obvious. And, I don't know what it is with the organization because he was the one guy that was on the trade block last year during the trade deadline in 2022. They were willing to trade Mark Vientos because I don't think the Mets really like him. He's positionless. He's basically a bona fide DH at this point. Maybe he'll find somewhere else to be a serviceable third baseman, maybe first base. But most of the time, he's probably going to be a backup and everyday DH. He's basically going to be a David Ortiz type or, an Edgar Martinez type. It seems like that's what he's going to be. Maybe he'll prove us wrong. Who knows? Probably not with the Mets. So leading towards Buck Showalter, and I put up a poll. I think most of you guys seen it. Most of you guys voted. Who's to blame the way the Mets started in the first 60 games of the season? I put Epler, I put Buck, I put Lindor, and I put Alonso. No, I didn't put Vogelback. I didn't put Pham because let's be honest, Pham, Vogelback, Canna is not going to make or break this team. They can help this team more than they actually can hurt this team. In my opinion, if 1 through 4 is not doing their job and not hitting to the back of their baseball cards, this team has no chance in 2023. I think that's very simple. 1 through 4 was great last year. We never had a problem. That 1 through 4 was exactly what it was from game 1 through game 162, it seemed like. You know, Nimmo, you had Marte, you had Lindor, and you had Alonso. They were money last year. When they don't play to the back of their baseball cards this year, you see the problems the Mets are having. It doesn't matter what anybody else does. If those 4 do the job, I guarantee this team will win a lot more games. Now, there's a lot of problems with the Mets. Pitching shows up, you know, for a week, and then the hitting doesn't hit, the offense doesn't hit, and then the bullpen decides to blow games. It's a trickle-down effect, right? This team has not put it all together. When the offense and pitching came together this year yet. It's always one or the other. And that's unfortunate because I think this team, if they put it together all together, they might actually be better than what they are. Probably not the way they're playing. But when you have Lindor and Alonso, you know, playing games with the Mendoza line offensively, that's scary. So when it comes to Buck, there's a lot of things you can hate about Buck. Bullpen management, lineup construction, not arguing with umpires that a lot of people seem to want him to do. And again, I don't mind that, but I don't think arguing with an umpire is going to make you win a World Series because look at Aaron Boone, right? He does it every day. And we'll have the Yankees won since 2009, right? So with Buck Showalter, and Chris, I want to start with you when it comes to Buck. I don't know what the difference is with Buck from last year to this year. It seems like he's not in it as much as he was last year. He was having a good time last year. This year, he just looks miserable from day one. So give me your opinion about Buck Showalter. What do you think the Mets should do? Should they keep him, be consistent, just don't trade a guy and make a jerk reaction? Or do you think that he just needs to manage better? It's just that simple. Yeah, Chris, buddy.
I mean, it's a tandem of all 3 things that you just pointed out, right? It's about Buck Showalter and Billy Epler putting their best foot forward to put this team into position to win ball games, and it's about the players performing to the back of their baseball card, like you just said. It's a tandem of both. Last year, I don't think that Buck was a perfect manager, but the players, you know, covered his ass more times than not in any sort of mistakes that he made. He had games last year where he mismanaged the bullpen as well, and they dropped a couple games where they shouldn't have because of his bullpen decisions. I remember that vividly from 2022. But the team won 101 games. You're not going to get on a manager whatsoever when the team wins 101 games. This year, like you said, the top 4 guys, minus maybe Brandon Nimmo, who's been the one consistent factor on this team, haven't been performing, you know, routinely. And who are we going to blame? I mean, we're obviously going to blame the players. That's the obvious answer, but then it trickles down from somewhere, and it's going to be Buck Showalter and Billy Epler. Now, I have this working conspiracy theory, and I don't want to sit here and make it a, you know, fact or fiction, but I find it really hard to believe. I have a very hard time believing that when Buck Showalter took this job, there wasn't somewhere in his contract written that he has sort of a say of who comes up, who comes down in terms of the call-ups, the DFAs, things of that nature. So I really do think that it's Billy Epler and Buck Showalter working in tandem. Obviously, Sandy Alderson is not the team president anymore. He's only an advisor now. And we don't have that kind of factor. Steve Cohen is probably has a little bit more say into the day-to-day operations, but he's still new to the ownership game in general, right? He's a this is his 3rd year as being an owner. He's a business guy. He's not really a baseball guy. 2. Okay. And no, yeah, 3, exactly. So he took over in 2020. So you know what I'm saying? It has to be Epler and Showalter working in tandem to make these sort of decisions. Now, I don't know. I mean, Buck Showalter, he's a tenured manager. I've said this time and time again on my channel, a lot of my content. But if you look at his teams in Baltimore, bullpen's mismanaged, and those lineups are great that he had in Baltimore, but the bullpen was really the ultimate fall of his tenure there. And it's just I don't see any consistency. Now, he has what he has to work with, right? He has Steven Nagosic to bring in. He has Dominic Leone, right? If they're not going to give him better options, he has to work with what he's got. But if you look at a couple games this year where and you look at this last game, Dominic Leone shouldn't have been throwing in that one inning when he gave up the bomb to Brandon Belt. You know what I mean? We talked about it in the group chat. So I think it's a tandem of both options. It's a testament to the players not performing. it's a testament to them not performing in unison. Like we said, the pitching struggled early on. Offense was trying to carry them. The bullpen carried them a little bit, but now offense has gotten a little cold. Pitching's turned on. Max Scherzer seems to have found it. Justin Verlander, we're going to wait on him. Kodai is a little bit inconsistent. So it's a tandem of both, but definitely some things that Buck Showalter can definitely share up. I think he has to be on the hot seat, but I just don't see him going anywhere this year. They have no one to replace him. I can't even think of a candidate who would replace him, internally this year. And so I think that might be a little bit premature, but Steve Cohen's definitely feeling the pressure here with the 30-30 ball club. I think we all expected the Mets to be better at this point of the season. And so the questions are going to start, flowing in from Steve Cohen and company, and we'll see what happens. But I think this Brave series is going to be pretty telling about whether or not Buck Showalter will actually be on the hot seat. In my personal opinion, if you've listened to my content, listen to my channel, I think he should be. I think, it's time to start questioning what he's doing with the lineups. It's time to start questioning how he manages the bullpen. But I just don't know who the replacement, the candidates would be. So, Keith, if I missed anything, please feel free to add on to that.
No, that was very articulate, my man.
Yeah.
If you go to my Twitter handle, not our Shay and Sons account, you will find a little saying on my name. I am the CEO of Buckonomics. I will break down what Buckonomics is, okay? Buckonomics, I don't think you can see it. You see this book right here? Every game, I record everything that this man does. I'm a little bit obsessed with how bad this manager is. And I'm the first guy to let everyone know that even though these players are, can we curse on this? I can't hear you. I think you muted yourself.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. Cool. Even though these players are shit right now, there's been about 7 to about 9 games I have counted on this book that the manager has flushed down his ass. Even with a Lindor with the OPS under 700, even with Alonso looking like the right-handed Adam Dunn. Okay, there's been numerous occasions that this man has put this team in jeopardy to just either punt the game or to absolutely shit the bed. I don't think they came into the season prepared. I think a lot of that does fall on Billy Epler, but I also know that last year, this team if everybody says it's the same team as last year. It's not. With the whole new landscape of baseball changing, pitch clock. You got, the options thrown over the first. A lot of things change with this team. Now, in my personal opinion, if this team wanted to be anything like they were last season, then they were in for a rude awakening, in my honest opinion. Because if you were to do that, you are extremely ignorant and you're discrediting your opposition. Because as you see how many pitchers are struggling throughout the league, it's not just a Met thing, to be fair. Yeah, we're 500, but we look like a shitty 500. And that's the problem that I have. You had a really good April with Nimmo, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And now you got every other day, you got either he's leading off, now all of a sudden he's getting a bunch of days off. I'm starting to wonder if something's up. That's question number one. He's getting, he was DHing in Colorado. Now he got another day off the other day. Tommy Pham had to lead off. So that's question number one. Question number two, we don't know what's going on with our shortstop. Our shortstop might be having stuff going on at home. To me personally, his front foot is lost. He's out in front of everything. Guys, that's what it is. He's not timing his front foot for whatever it is. And I just think he's going up there and he has no clue what to look for. That's just me. I see a batter up there just hoping and praying he doesn't have to face a curveball. That's what it looks like. And it's all defensive hacks. It looks terrible. Your 3-hole, you've been mix matching with Lindor and McNeil. McNeil comes to the park. He doesn't know if he's batting 3rd, 5th, 6th, 7th. He's the batting champion. Why? Last year, the New York Mets had an OPS over 1,000 when McNeil batted behind Alonso. Why are we not doing that again? Alonso. I love Alonso. Alonso's a really, really fun guy to root for. But let's be real. If it's not a home run, it's ugly. All right? His defense has improved. I give him credit. And he really works hard as his defense. But I need more, bro. I need about 35 doubles to 40 doubles, bro. And I think he runs the bases pretty decently for a big guy. Your 5-hole, we keep moving a rookie into that slot. And I love my Brett Beatty. I love him. But this is not a spot for him. The kids, I know when they hit, everybody wants to move them up. Don't mess with something that's working, because the minute they moved up Alvarez from 9 to 2, all of a sudden he can't hit the ball. These kids, you have to. I guess the point of my rant is the guidance of this team. Everything is all over the place. I haven't even touched on the bullpen. I haven't even touched on the starting pitching. They try to put Kodai Senga on regular rest yesterday. Why? When we've been making sure he's on that extra day's rest. And when he's on that extra day's rest, he looks great when he's at home. But what happened? They had a home game yesterday, and now they're going to go on the road. So what, we hiding him from Atlanta? He's got to go to Atlanta at some point and pitch. He's got to. At some point, he got to go to Atlanta and pitch. He got to go to Philadelphia and pitch. We got to stop this. We got to stop this. But we want him to pitch on regular rest. Don't give me that crap. But that to me is just a whole bunch of baloney, because we've been doing it the whole season. All of a sudden, we got a series against Atlanta with a day off in between, which we've been looking for with Kodai Senga, and you rushed him to pitch against the Blue Jays? Bro, if we were going to lose that series, let it be. So be it. If we get swept, did he need to pitch 2 2/3 in that series to justify something? No. But I'd rather him go pitch at least 2 2/3 in fucking Atlanta than in fucking Citi Field. But what? They're scared to have him on the road against Atlanta. This is a Buck thing, guys. In my personal opinion, Billy Epler is a mess. I wouldn't trust Billy Epler to go buy my lotto ticket, in my honest opinion. Because if Billy Epler could go trade 4 functional human beings for Darren Ruff, then he could do a lot worse. So I have no faith in that. But you know what? We still managed to get through that with the guys we had. So that's why I don't blame him too much, because to me, he's a puppet. He's irrelevant for me. He's low-hanging fruit. You got to go at the guy who won 101 games last year. Show me that you are not a failure, that you've been a failure in all your other stops. Okay? Because now your guys are struggling. Now you got guys coming for your big boys. Lindor, Alonso, McNeil, Nimmo. How are you going to get them on the right track? That's on the manager. And baseball's a funny sport, because baseball, you gotta stick with the back of the baseball card. They tell you that all the time. All the time. But you know what? The funny thing about the back of the baseball card that it doesn't tell you, what's going on up here. Right now, what's going on up here, you got a lot of rookies on this team that he's trying to manage, and you got a lot of veterans who are struggling. I don't think I've ever seen Buck Showalter handle that in any fashion. In Baltimore, they had 13 straight losing seasons, but they never had a payroll like the Mets. When he was on the Yankees, they were not that good. They were nowhere near the caliber of the Mets had. They didn't want to play Derek Jeter. And in Texas, it was a shitstorm. So, to me, you got the way they baby some of these guys. This all falls down on Buck. If you watch Buck press conference after any loss, you're going to get a famous Buck line. Yeah. We'll be all right. Yeah. You know, I thought he threw it well. Yeah. His swings were good. It's all garbage. Just flat out. And he don't want to upset these guys. And you know what? It comes across like a soft team. Because remember last year, Rob, everybody was throwing baseballs at our heads. It took us about a whole month for us to do something about it.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. Where does that come from? The manager. The manager said, I don't want nobody to get hurt. Bro. People look at us like a laughing stock. If you're not a Met fan, people find any joke under the rug to give this team. Yep. We got to start stepping up. We got to start manning the hell up. That goes for everybody, bro. The only guy I ever see on this team that looks like he's ready to run through a wall is McNeil. And God forbid McNeil comes to the ballpark and he sees he's batting 7th out of nowhere. Like, come on, bro. That's not fair. Yeah. He won the batting title last year, bro. You got to stick with the guy, bro. Leave him behind Alonso, bro. In my honest opinion, every day, the most watched lineup in all of baseball is the New York Mets. It shouldn't be that way. I don't like that. Because every day you're getting something new, and we're all going to bitch and moan about it. So that's just my rant. My bad, Rob. My bad. I get hot when I talk about Buck.
It's all right, man.
I genuinely do not like Buck Showalter for the life of me. I don't care if he won 101 games last year. It's how you manage the team. That's what matters more to me. What 101 wins does for me right now? Nothing. I just got cool memories about it. That's it. You know? But that's it, really, honestly. Sorry.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's good. Look, the passion is always welcome on this channel. Yeah, that's well said. And again, I was a proponent for Buck. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to be but you know what? I do have to he's a totally different manager from 2022 to 2023. He still made certain mistakes that is very similar to his career with mostly bullpen management, but he was consistent last year with the lineup. You know how stubborn he was with Escobar behind Alonso until he finally moved him and, like you said, put McNeil fifth? He did that. And he was stubborn with it. And I like the fact that he stuck with some guys and he never moved 1 through 4. Even when they might have had a little bit of a rough patch, he kept them saying, I believe in my guys. He doesn't believe in anybody this year. And we clearly know he doesn't believe in the kids. And again, they all might be great. They all might be bust. We don't know that, right? Alvarez could be a Sanchez, have a one great year and then be Sanchez, right? Beatty can be a one-hit wonder. We don't know. But I the only thing I don't understand about Buck is I get more mad about the lineup more than the bullpen management, because I can name every bullpen. I can name every manager that made the stupidest bullpen decisions. I mean, there's a guy in the Bronx that can't manage.
My bad.
At all, and manage a bullpen, and they lose all the time. You could tell all the time the bullpen management is terrible. So there's about probably 29 other managers that make terrible bullpen decisions. And again, you talked about Dominic Leone, about that stupid move. I didn't understand that. But then he said after the game that we didn't have guys available. Okay, that's fine. But your other best arm, if Ottavino and Robertson weren't available, if they came to your office and say, hey, listen, my arm hurts, my arm is tired, whatever. If Dominic Leone is your best choice coming out of the bullpen, again, not saying I like Drew Smith, but Drew Smith has a better arm than Dominic Leone. Put him in that spot. Get a strikeout guy in there, knowing that you're going to not have Robertson or Ottavino.
Yo, Rob, can I interrupt you real quick?
Yeah, go.
Who hit the home run off Leone? You remember?
It was, I do remember.
It was Brandon Belt.
It was Brandon Belt. So
Brandon Belt.
My question is, did Brooks Raley die? That's
Well,
my only question. You see what I'm saying?
Well, that's a good point. I wasn't even thinking about Brooks Raley in that spot, but that's a great point.
Here's another one. I got another one for you.
Yeah.
What's your favorite memory of Kevin Biggio in the major leagues? What's your favorite memory of him?
Why pitch to Guerrero? I know. Yeah, I know.
That's
I was gonna get to that too, and that's the funny thing. It was funny. Like I said, when Buck was hired, everybody talked about his bullpen management, right? That was the thing, not bringing in Britton in the biggest spot in the playoffs. We all know the story, right? But again, it's just two totally different managers this year. Buck got all the credit last year for changing Lindor and fixing Lindor's attitude with Jeff McNeil. He had a conversation with them in the office, got them to be friends. Now they look like they're good friends. And Lindor just turned his whole attitude around towards New York. And Buck got all the credit. So what I don't understand, and this is another thing, Lindor is struggling right now. And again, anybody who thought when the Mets traded for Lindor that he was an absolute superstar coming from Cleveland, you were absolutely mistaken. Again, look at his numbers, and he's still going to put probably the best numbers in baseball when it comes to shortstops at the end of the year, because he always finds ways to. You look at the end of the year, his stats are there. For some reason, again, the average got to be better. Again, can you give me 250? Because he's on pace for what, 30 and 110 this year, or probably a little less now for his bad struggles. But give me a 260 average. If he has that with 28, 30 home runs with 100 RBIs, that is, I'll take that every day of the week from shortstop. And he'll even with a bad season, and say his average ends up being 220, he'll probably still have that many home runs and clearly that much RBIs. And just think, he's even though he's so bad right now, he leads. I believe he leads the Mets in runners in scoring position, bringing the runners in with runners in scoring position. He has the most extra base hits. He has the second most RBIs. It's crazy to me. It's like he's not really putting the bat on the ball this year, but when he does damage. And that's what's frustrating, because if he was batting 260 right now, he would be the best player on the team. Nobody would kill him. Everybody would be going after Alonso at this point now, because he's another one that is home run or bust right now. And that is a huge problem, because last year, the reason why I thought Alonso took the next step was because his average was close to, 265, 270 last year with all those home runs and all those RBIs. That's why I was so excited about Pete Alonso, because he got that average up, which is needed to become a superstar in this league. Along with the home runs, the RBIs, we all know about the OPS, we all know about the slugging with Pete Alonso. And then we know about Marte, who's finally coming on. But with this lineup, and when it comes back to Buck, at this point, I said it today to one of my friends. I go, listen, why not Buck does something Jessica? Everybody, wants to see what Buck's going to do next. Can't wait to see the lineup and start yelling at that. What about tomorrow? Buck Showalter sits Francisco Lindor. One game. I know it's against the Braves. I know it's a crucial series against the Braves. But why not just sit Lindor for one day? Because, like you said, what did you do? Mentally, they're all fucked up right now. It's obvious. Specifically Lindor. Lindor just looks like he lost his puppy when he plays the game right now. And when his best asset is defense right now, that's a problem for the Mets. Why not just sit him for one game and get him mentally prepared? I'm not talking about the off day. I'm talking about when the guys are on the field, let Lindor sit there. If you want to bring him up in a big spot late in the game, fine, you can do that. But let him sit. I don't care who you put up at shortstop. Pick somebody. It's not like we really have technically a backup shortstop.
He should have, in retrospect, he should have sat him yesterday.
Correct.
Sit him 100%. Yesterday, Saturday, he was really bad. Give him the Sunday off, got the Tuesday off, lock in versus the Braves, and then we go. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, whether you like him or not, that's our shortstop. We got to ride with him. It is what it is. I just think when it comes to that, bro, like Buck, and I like Lindor. I'm a big Lindor fan too. But if I like Lindor, then Buck Showalter adores Lindor.
Oh yeah, we know that.
You know what I'm saying? Like Buck will defend him like if it's his own child. So I mean, if we all know how Buck is with certain, he's a big players guy.
Yeah.
I mean, if he benches, this might be the biggest series of the season, I guess.
It could be.
You know what I'm saying? Maybe we could turn it around. So if he benches him, I would be shocked. Rob, I honestly, I'll Venmo you $20 if he happens. I'll be shocked.
I got a question for you all. Do you all, in regards to Lindor, obviously we saw him finally break the 0 for 15 streak with a base hit. Obviously, center fielder, I think it was Varsho that day, didn't get the dive. It was out of his reach. And it was great to see Lindor on base for once, right? In the last couple games.
I know the question you're going to ask.
Yeah, would you all, and like I said, if we just all agreed that matchups aren't as crucial as a part of the game as it's been known to be, and we know that Lindor's average is 30 points higher from the right side than the left side, we know his OPS is night and day from the right side than the left side, why don't we just say, listen, I know he's a star player, Buck Showalter's never going to go up to Lindor and say, hey, listen, can we just try to see how you handle some at bats from the right side of the plate?
Yes.
But I'm just sitting here, my head spinning. You lose some power with Lindor, obviously moving to the right side from the left side, but he looks like a night and day different hitter. And I know that's the case for, you look at Eduardo Escobar, same thing with him from the left side. Struggles from the left side. I want him in the lineup every day against a lefty. Every day. From the right-hand side, when the lefty's on the mound, I want Eduardo Escobar in the lineup. I don't know where you all stand with that. I think that's something I've been mulling over. Obviously, I don't see it happening just because of who Lindor is and what he's proven in this league so far from both sides of the plate. But maybe it's too early. Maybe it's not. That's something just to think about. I really want to get y'all's opinions on that, though.
Yeah, Keith.
So, all right. I'll start with this. There's not like a boatload of like really, really, really good players that are switch hitters. So that's why it's rare and it's really nice to have. So it's kind of a manager's dream to have a guy that like could be the caliber of like a Lindor or Jose Ramirez, to bat switch hitter and to do a lot of things and give the manager a lot of options. In my honest opinion, I've said this since we acquired the man, and I'm a big fan of his. He's always been a better right-handed hitter. Much more better swing. He's not as open. He's not falling on one knee. You know what I'm saying? Because he does that shit a lot with lefty, and it drives me up the wall.
He steps in a bucket.
It's in a big bucket because it's like, bro, you can't be so different from both sides. And I just think, personally, I don't know of a player of that like not there's no knock on him, but like when you're of that status quo, you have an ego, and you built your portfolio off a short as a really good defensive shortstop who is a switch hitter. For him to change now, it would be like pulling teeth, to be honest with you. I think it would have to take some serious come to Jesus moment with him and himself. He got to look in the mirror and just honestly, I know there's the name eludes me. There's a big time major league player who did stop, switch hitting. I forgot who it was.
Cedric
Somebody.
Mullins,
It was Mullins. It was Mullins, right? And look, it benefited him quite greatly because Cedric Mullins is an awesome center fielder, awesome left-handed bat. So honestly, it's one of those situations where if you really, really, really feel that like that change is needed, then you know what? I'm all for it. But if he's not with it, we ain't never gonna see it. So I'm with you, Chris. I'm 1,000% with you. I think when it comes to a player like this who's making an X amount of money, has X amount of fans, has X amount of haters, has X amount of history in the league, I think you ask him for a lot. I think if he was to tell Buck Showalter, I want to do it, I think Buck will stop him. I actually think that like he'd be like, nah, I need you to, you offer more or something like that. Like I just feel like that's something organizationally they wouldn't even allow him to do. And I think like if you look at Cedric Mullins in Baltimore, which is there's no shade to Baltimore. I love everything they're doing out there, but like they don't have the payroll we have. They don't have the expectations we have. They obviously want to win, but they don't want to win nearly the same way that the Mets want to win, so they can experiment more. So they have the leeway with certain players to develop them in a specific way and give them a little bit of an outlook on, hey, A, B, C, D this way or A, B, C, D that way. Which route do you want to take? Do you want to be an average center fielder who bats 235 because you switch hitting, or you want to be a perennial all-star every year because you have a better swing on this side of the plate and you're still a really good defensive player? You know what I'm saying? That's something organizationally that we would have to understand the route that we want to take. But remember, Cedric Mullins grew up in the Baltimore organization. We acquired Lindor. So, we took on what Cleveland, thought was probably the best player that they had in a switch hitting defensive shortstop. But I couldn't agree with you more. I have said this since we acquired him. His right-handed swing is one of the most level swings on the team.
Correct.
And when you look at his left-handed swing, he's playing golf. Like Rob said, he's in a bucket. His front foot, listen, do me a favor, anybody out there, you want to watch Lindor swing and look lost? Look at his right foot when he's batting left-handed. It's almost outside of the box. It doesn't make any sense why he's jumping all the way out there. Why are you trying to pull the ball? You're not even making any contact. And I love Lindor, but you gotta call it what it is. Yeah. It reminds me so much of when Beltran had his struggles, because Beltran was the last like really, really good switch hitting player we had. Yeah. And when Beltran was batting right-handed, I used to go crazy. I was like, oh, it looks so much better, blah, 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 blah. Left-handed, he would be all over the place sometimes. I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. So I'm with you, bro. I'm with you, but I don't think we're ever going to see it, to be fair.
I'm not going to see it. And I look at, like I said, like I like Lindor. Like I love the acquisition, the trade. I still do, and I'm never going to knock it. But I look at baseball from a perspective like, how can these players, all of them, 1 through 9, help the team? And I'm just sitting there and agree with you. All this stuff, his timing, his foot from the left side, everything mechanically. I look at that. I look at if they're late on the pitch. I look at if they're starting their swing when the ball's already by them. I look at his mental preparation in terms of, you can just tell if a player's mentally off when he steps into that box and by the takes that he has. He's swinging out of pitches out of the zone, and then he's looking at strike 3 down the middle of the last couple at bats, but that's either here or there. But opposite field hitting is something that I really, really stress.
I love it.
Alonso, another guy. If he's hitting the ball to the right side of the field, that right center gap, guess what? He's going to get his home runs just as equally because that pitcher's not going to know how to attack him.
I'm so happy.
But when they see him falling over the plate, just like all of them are, listen, I stress that to everybody. David Wright was the same thing. Those guys, when they're hitting the ball to the right side, right center, I don't even care if it's a single. If Alonso shoots a ball past the second baseman to the right side, I'm taking it every day. Because guess what? he's gonna get his home runs as equally as he would if he's just pulling.
But Chris,
I'm
you know what's
happy he finally
crazy?
came out of it. But
You know what's crazy about that, Chris? I couldn't agree with you more because if you look at his rookie year and you look at all those 53 home runs, a lot of them was opposite field.
Field, yeah.
exactly,
A ton of them. And
He
I
got
was sitting,
53 hitting it to center field
bro,
against
and
Atlanta, end of the year. Yeah.
he hits some center field now, but he never hits some to right center no more. Not like he used to. He hit one
his
against
break
Tampa.
chart
I
that
think
year
the
was
grand
all
slam.
over.
The grand slam he hit against Cleveland or Tampa, I forgot which one. That one was like opposite field. But that was like the only one. And I was just like, for a guy who struggles with a slider away, like if you want the blueprint on how to beat Pete Alonso, you got to have a really good slider and throw it in the dirt away because he's going to swing so far away that his belly button is going to touch his kneecap. And it's just like, bro, if you just could lay off that and, you can't throw a fastball to this guy because this guy has unlimited power. But you know what's crazy? It's so funny that we're on this right now. I was looking at exit velocities because the Mets love exit velocity. They go crazy over it. Pete Alonso's not even top 3 on the team. He's not, and it's crazy, and he's the polar bear. You know what I'm saying? It drives you nuts. You got the top 3. I'm going to tell you, the top 3 in average exit velocity. Number 1 is a rookie, Brett Beatty. Number 2, Brandon Nimmo, a leader of Kai. Number 3, the worst shortstop in the history of the New York Mets, Lindor. And then number 4, it's Pete Alonso. It doesn't make any sense. And if you rank him in all of baseball, he ranks 103rd in average exit velocity, and he leads Major League Baseball home runs. What does that tell you? Home run or nothing, and he's not getting good swings on his at bats. And I want Alonso to go crazy. You know why I want Alonso to go crazy? Because I hate guys who are, in my personal opinion, a little overrated at first base. Like, I don't think Christian Walker should be that like perennial Gold Glove guy. Like, I don't think Pete Alonso's that far away from like Paul Goldschmidt. I think that's like the target. I don't think Matt Olson is miles better than Pete Alonso. Like, Matt Olson to me is just as streaky. So it's like, I want my guy to be the guy I know he can be. And when he starts getting home run happy, and I know we need those home runs, but look, Rob saw it yesterday. Chris, you saw it yesterday. 4 solo home runs. We lost.
Yeah.
People complain this team don't got power. People moan and, kick and scream. We need power. We got 4 of them yesterday. But nobody's on base. I'd rather have a team hit more doubles than home runs at the end of the day.
Like,
and I hate to say that. I hate to say that because that sounds so old school. And I don't want to sound like one of those old school guys. I don't want to do that because it's a new baseball era. But we need guys on base. The Mets are not the Mets. Listen, if you've been a Met fan since you've been like a baseball fan, there's 2 foundations of the Mets. Contact hitting and good starting pitching. We don't have that right now. That's why we 500. That's what it is. There's identity crisis with us.
And just sorry to cut you off. Just on the topic of the oppo hitting, I 100% on base. We need it. Last year we got dinged for it, and we're like, oh, no power, whatever. We need people on base
now, bro.
Exactly. Freddie Freeman, one of the best all fields hitters, best first baseman in the game. He can put the ball in any gap. He can put it in both gaps. He can put the ball over the fence, left field, right field, center field. Doesn't matter. Best pure hitter, best first baseman, all gaps. I need to see Pete Alonso start doing that. That's what I'll leave that conversation with. But
yeah, and you guys talked about it, like with the play with Pete Alonso getting a home run happy, Lindor stepping in the bucket left-handed. Why doesn't he just bat right-handed? And it comes down to one thing: stubbornness, right? They always look. These guys are professional players, right? These are the best players in the world, right? Any sport. When you tell them to do something, they're going to be like, I did this my whole life. I figured it out at some point. I'm not going to change something I did my whole life because that's how I got here. And that's what they do. And, that could be what's killing Lindor right now, because it's hard to hit a baseball as it is. I'm assuming we all play baseball at some point, right? We know how hard it is to hit a baseball, right? It's not easy hitting a 90 miles an hour slider and a 75 miles an hour curveball. It's not easy. Right? And just thinking of that, just batting on one side. Imagine trying to figure it out with 2 sides and struggling at both sides of the plate. And Key, you said a good thing about right-handed. My whole friends group chats, I got like 9 of them. that are all Mets fans. All we talk about is how great of a swing Lindor has right-handed. Leveled swing, doesn't step in the bucket, balance at the plate, balance in the box. His feet are balanced. Everything is, it's just a beautiful motion. Right-handed, stepping in the bucket. Every time he swings, he's on his knees, basically. Complete launch angle swing, left-handed. And I don't know what it was. I checked his numbers when he was in Cleveland, and they were very similar, lefty righty. And that could be just because he was a young guy, and everything was just working out, and there was no pressure on him basically because it was Cleveland, and he just figured everything out on his own, and the talent just showed up. But you know what? He is a little bit older. Maybe that bat speed on the left side is not as quick as it was a couple of years ago. Let's be honest. And I think left-handed, professional players know when things aren't the same, when little something's off, right? Like Marte. You can see in Marte's face that he knows something's off, right? He's trying to figure it out. And that's the other part when it comes to Lindor. I think Lindor is at the point now that he knows that left-handed he's not that good, and mentally he's fucked. And I think that you saw right-handed, even when he's struggling as bad as he is, when he actually gets an opportunity right-handed, he puts a quality at bat. All right, he might not get a base hit, but I can assure you that he puts a better at bat together. And it's just amazing to me that the stubbornness of these players, which I understand because that's how they got there, being stubborn and doing what they do consistently. I get that. But sometimes you have to change. You talked about Mullins. Stopped batting from both sides of the plate. It made him a better player. Mentally, it made him a better player. So he has to worry about one side. I don't think Lindor is going to do that. I think he's too much in his ways. And like you said, I don't think if Lindor says I'm going to do it, Buck is going to tell him no. And it's organizational philosophy as well. People in the channel, I'm glad somebody brought it up about the hitting coach, right? I know it's not Eric Chavez anymore, but Eric Chavez is actually on the bench. Why can't he just tell these players exactly what he was putting in their heads last year? Why is it all of a sudden a completely different philosophy? Keith, you brought it up with the base hits, getting on base, not a lot of home runs, average guys putting the ball in play. You know how many pitches they're swinging at first pitches? They're swinging. I mean, they don't work the counts. They don't like to take their walks. It's a huge problem. And I don't understand how a philosophy. Now, if Eric Chavez wasn't on the bench and he moved on, I could see that they might bring in a little different philosophy. But he's on the bench. He's the bench coach. You know what? Step over the hitting coach and say, listen, it worked last year. Why don't we go back to that? Are they looking at too much film again like they did in 2021 when they talked about there was too much information given to them? And then in 2022 when Eric Chavez says, listen, just do what you do best and we'll tweak things here and there when you're struggling. Is it back to this giving too much information again? But why is that the case? Why is the philosophy changed over 1 year when you basically got the same lineup? It shouldn't be this bad if you have the same lineup, Keith. You know what I'm saying?
No, brother, you speaking gospel to me because there's a young man in the chat. Young man, he's older than me, but my man Amish. Shout out Amish. Amish and Chris know that I'm the biggest. You guys are gonna hate me. I love when this team walks. It actually gets me excited, like a kid in the candy store. When I start seeing it, once I see Nimmo get like 2 walks, we're gonna win. And there's no doubt in my mind. I literally say there's no doubt. Nimmo's working at bats, we're gonna win because Nimmo trickles it down from top to bottom. That's just how I view it. I could be wrong, and I'll hold my hands up if I'm wrong. It's cool. But the problem that I have with this whole coaching philosophy thing, it's to me. What are we? June 5th. In my honest opinion, it's still September 2022. And I think like there's still for like 85 to 90% of their success last year was destroying starting pitching in the first inning, having timely hits, and have really good starting pitching. That was the philosophy. And it failed in all 3 phases in September. All 3 of them blew up in their face. And I think they sat there and said, this is not sustainable to win in October, September, or whatnot, right? I don't necessarily agree with that. I just think it was a really, 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 really crazy race between two really good teams, the Mets and the Braves. And I think we just beat the crap out of each other. And in my opinion, I don't think the Padres were better than us. Absolutely not. I don't think on our best
And
day.
damn sure the Phillies weren't.
And I think if we would have gotten the Phillies in that round, it would have been
We
a whole
would have won,
different.
correct.
It would have been a whole
I said
different
that
story.
forever.
100% agree.
Yep.
100% because they changed the rules of the setup for the first round, whatever. But we all know we would have the Mets for some reason just know when to step up against Philadelphia. But that's neither here nor there. As when it comes to Eric Chavez, I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. This new guy, Jeremy Barnes, I think that's the new hitting guy.
Yeah.
They move Eric Chavez to assistant manager or assistant to Buck, right? Is that
Yeah,
his title?
I think he's like next
assistant
to
bench or whatever. Right. In my honest opinion, none of that crap matters to me because this lineup, it would probably only matter with the kids in Jeremy Barnes' like philosophy, but I think with all these guys, all of them, I think they all heard the crowd last year saying, you can't even get on base, you can't hit, we don't hit for power, we don't hit nothing. You got guys in spring training saying they want to hit this many home runs, they lost this much, they lost this much weight, put on this much amount of muscle that they want to, make sure they hit this amount of many home runs. And I'm just like, I'm sitting here listening to this and I'm just like, and I want to bring back to me the reason why this is true. And it got nothing to do with Pete. It got nothing to do with Lindor. It got nothing to do with Buck. It got nothing to do with Eric Chavez. If you look at the April that Brandon Nimmo had, Brandon Nimmo looked like I don't know if anybody remember Grady Sizemore. Grady Sizemore was out here looking like a 30 for 30 candidate, triple crown, all that stuff. And I'm watching Brandon Nimmo hit for power, and I'm just like, wait a minute, hold up. And Brandon Nimmo didn't go to the WBC. Brandon Nimmo stood. He said, I want to do good. I want to make sure I'm good for the Mets. I want to work hard. I want to improve my game. And I'm all for that. I'm cool. There's nothing I could say that's like against that. But I'm seeing Brandon Nimmo hit like Grady Sizemore, prime Grady Sizemore in Cleveland. And I'm just like, hold up. This don't look like the Brandon Nimmo that I know. Brandon Nimmo that I know working 10 pitch counts against starting pitcher. And the Mets are working the opposing starting pitchers to 30 or 40 pitches in the first inning, and we're killing opposition teams' bullpen by game one. That's why by game three in the series, we're dominating them because they can't get out of the inning with us. And I'm over here watching Brandon Nimmo now swinging at first pitches and having a big old swing, and I'm just like, wait a minute, hold up, this is not normal. This is not the Mets that I know, and I think that has trickled down. That has trickled down significantly, along with the fact, in my opinion, Marte started the year injured. I think he's just starting to feel healthy, in my opinion. I think he's just now getting healthy. I think eventually he should be moved back to 2. Eventually. I don't know when, but soon. And I think, McNeil is weird because 2 years ago, he got destroyed for turning into a home run hitter. Then last year he goes to his slap hitting ways, wins the batting title against the shift. There's no more shifts now here. And now McNeil, you get one good week of McNeil, then you get a week where he struggles, and then you see it written all over his face. And I feel like he is the only one that I feel like is kind of working these counts sort of like last year. But he's also like, it seems like something's pulling him away from that. And it's like what everyone else is trying to do, a hit for so much power. And it's like they trying to be the Braves. And we're not the Braves. We're the Mets. So that's just kind of my take. I don't know. What do you think about it, Chris?
Yeah, it's just sort of a complete 180. Last year we said, obviously, this team has no power. We got swept in that Braves series. We got beat down. We couldn't keep up with the Padres and their pitching, and everyone was just like, "Oh, this on base sort of philosophy, get on base, work counts is not going to work against top tier playoff pitching." It's going to win you regular season ball games. Obviously, everything that we're talking about here is it comes down to consistency. This team just hasn't had any consistency from anybody, pretty much anybody this season so far. I'm not sure how big of a role these bench coaches really play. I think Eric Chavez definitely, you saw it last year, obviously as a former major leaguer. I don't know anything about this Barnes guy either. I'm not going to pretend like I do. At the end of the day, these guys are all pros. As you said, Rob, they got here. because they succeeded in all other levels that they've, came up through. And it's just about, them playing as a tandem and finding it collectively. And I'm not going to sit here and sort of, talk about the reasons why. I don't know why they're not working counts. I don't know why they're swinging first pitch. I can't imagine that's coming from the hitting coach. I can't imagine that Eric Chavez isn't talking to the current hitting coach. You know what I mean? They have conversations behind closed doors. They're definitely in tandem with one another. So I don't think it's that simple. And I think that, these guys are major leaguers, and it's kind of hard to be one of those coaches and kind of critique these guys on a day-to-day basis. I don't know. I just don't think it's that simple in terms of these philosophies changing from one year to the next, because these guys think they can hit for power now. I think we need equilibrium. Obviously, like you said, Keith, this team can put it out of the ballpark. They just did, against the Blue Jays. Obviously, before that, we saw a lot of warning track power. They don't have the same power as the Braves. Don't be the Braves, like you said, Keith. You're not going to put it out consistently. They'll have hot streaks, but there needs to be some equilibrium. I think Marte might be the catalyst moving forward. He's starting to figure it out. He's starting to figure it out. On all my videos, on all my post games, I basically went on with Amish Country Mets fan Nelson. Shout out him. He's in the chat. I see him in the chat. We basically said that this, Marte is playing hurt. He's not 100% Marte. In this Blue Jay series, I honestly think that he's back to normal. He's been legging out infield. He's been trying to leg out those infield hits that he's been getting last year, right? We saw that in his Blue Jay series. He's spraying the ball the opposite field now. Like we said, opposite field, when Marte is hitting the ball, opposite field, all gaps. Every one of them, and they started doing that. That's the key. So I think Marte might be the catalyst, moving back up to the 2 spot, stop fiddling around. Let's get some consistency with the lineups. Let's get some consistency with the way that we approach these counts. And I think that the Mets, we're here 30-30, right? This team is showed they've been playing like they're 500, a 500 club.
Yeah.
The talent on this roster does not scream 500 to me. It is not.
No.
If these guys start to show some consistency, if Brandon Nimmo, like you said, starts working those counts, if Marte goes back up to a 2 spot, keeps spraying the ball to the right side, if Lindor finally gets it going, these guys start to click on all cylinders. This team is going to be dangerous moving forward. So I want to just bring this chat up a little bit, because we've been going on for an hour about how this team is not performing well. We get that. Show us some consistency. I think that we can turn this thing around. It's just going to be up to the players. Buck can only do so much, and I will give him the benefit of the doubt there. These guys are major leaguers at the end of the day. The hitting coach, the bench coach, the manager, whatever they say is what they say, but these major leaguers have to translate that to the field, and they have to buy into it. So I think once these teams start to buy into it, we'll see a different team. It's just a matter of not when, not if, but when, I think. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm looking forward to it.
I agree with that. And, you brought up Marte, and I've been a big proponent, and I've been saying this forever. Ever since Marte went down in September, this Mets team in September went downhill offensively, right? You said the catalyst. Marte is the catalyst. I don't care what anybody else says. I don't bring up any other name. I don't care if it's Lindor, Alonso, Canna, Beatty, Alvarez. Marte was the catalyst last year. Every time you needed a big hit, every time you needed to get on base, Marte was always in the middle of that. And you took him out of the lineup in September because of injury. He missed the entire month of September, and the lineup looked nothing like they were the other 5 months of the season. And you could see it again this year. Marte beginning of the season, Chris, I agree with you. He was hurt. He was slowly, remember, he had multiple surgeries in the offseason. That takes time. I don't care how athletic you are, how much in shape you are. That takes time. Your body has to adjust, has to get back to normal again. And it looks like he is. I'm telling you guys right now, and Chris, I agree with you 100%. If Marte gets going, this lineup's going to be a lot better because it's going to help everybody else along the lineup.
Mainly Lindor.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
Mainly Lindor, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Mainly.
Yeah, maybe. Let's hope so.
You can't have Marte at first base, 1 out, and you swinging at the first pitch. You can't.
Yeah, correct.
You're not doing that. That's not how we would play last year,
No.
You would literally take about 2-3 pitches,
Correct, exactly. And you know what else is, when we talked about it, I think we're all agreeing that, you got to hit home runs. I understand that. But we were all there in our own misery in 2015 when the Kansas City Royals didn't strike out against us, put the ball in play, made us make mistakes defensively, didn't hit a lot of home runs. They hit a couple, but they were peppering us the whole World Series. And they won a World Series that way. So the concept of, you got to hit home runs to win the World Series. You got to hit some. But you also have to have a little bit of a balance. Because, listen, all we heard, and look, we live in New York. We know about the Yankees. How many years in a row that they had all home run hitters, they were home runs or bust, and when they faced good pitching, they couldn't put the bat on the ball. The Phillies last year, they started playing better because their bullpen got better, but they were hitting home runs, but they started to be a better balanced lineup. And then when they got to the World Series, they started to lose games against the Astros because all of a sudden when them home runs went away, they couldn't figure out what to do. And it comes back to, yes, you need balance. But the strongest part, what I don't understand with a lot of teams, especially with the Mets, is that when you have a strong set of things when it comes to a lineup, we know this is a team to get on base. On base percentage is important. Get a couple of hits in a row, get a couple of singles with doubles. We're not a home run hitting team. Hit those doubles. Go first to third. Steal some bases. You know what? Hit the ball to the right side when the guy's on second so we can go to third. That's what they did last year. Why? When that was the strong part of your game as a lineup, that you have to change because what? You heard the fans who, let's be honest. We think we know everything, right? We always think we know everything. But the players know what they are. The managers, if you don't like them, the coaches, if you don't like them, that's fine. But they know what is this team's strong suit. Why the philosophy changed when it came to the mindset of this lineup, when it's basically the same lineup as last year, if they just do a little bit more of what they did last year, which is not trying to do too much, put the ball in play, let the defense make the play. Right? How many times last year, the whole thing that was funny about Keith Hernandez and the Phillies was they looked like the bad news bears defensively. And it came back to the same thing. This team needs to put the ball in play more. They got to work the counts. They got to steal bases. They got to go first to third on a base hit. They need to move the runners. Exactly what they did last year. There should be no difference of what they're doing this year. And again, Chris, like you said, Marte is the catalyst 100%, buddy. And that is the most important thing I think this lineup needs. If Marte gets going, you can bring him back because he's in no man's land batting at the bottom of the order. 6th, 7th, whatever he's been batting.
You're wasting him.
Yeah, you're wasting him. He's too good of a player with speed, with putting the bat on the ball because he is a career 295, 300 hitter. 7 years in a row, he hit 290 or above. So he's a guy that puts the bat on the ball. He doesn't strike out a lot. I mean, he has the strikeouts, everybody does, but he puts the bat on the ball. And how many ground balls did he beat out last year?
A ton.
A lot.
Quite a few.
That's why he's at the 2-hole because he makes Lindor better. Keith, as you said, taking pitches, doesn't swing at first pitches. He can take pitches. He's not going to be so aggressive at the plate because he knows he has Marte in front of him or even on base. That would make Lindor better. And Lindor took a lot of walks last year, didn't fly out and, step in every bucket and swing at everything like he is now. He took a lot of pitches last year, and he got into hitters' counts. Any hitter is going to be better when you're in hitters' counts because 100%. You're probably 9 out of 10 times you're going to get the pitch that 100%. You want. And that is what Marte does in this lineup. I don't care if 34 years old right now? Marte might have lost a step or two, but I think he's still one of the better all-around players in this lineup.
I agree.
Overall. And I think he's extremely important. And there's no coincidence that when Marte's not going, this team is not going, and it's evident. And that is the most.
And he's stealing bags now too. He's starting to steal bases too, which is a good sign. Like he's starting to run the balls out, and he's starting to steal bases.
Yeah, he's starting to catch balls that he wasn't catching earlier in the year. Running down balls, that catch that he made the other day, nearly colliding into the fence. Right. He's getting to those balls now, so you can tell he's getting healthier. I think he had to trust his body more. When you have an injury, and you're like a lot of the times when players have ACL injuries, they got to trust that knee. I think he's trusting his body now that, hey, oh, look at this. This doesn't hurt when I do this now. And I think he's starting to realize that his body can do it now, and I think his mind is there now. And I think that's the whole thing now. I think it was mental that he didn't think his body can do it after these surgeries. And now that he's shown himself that his body can do it, his mind's back. And I think Marte is going to change everything. And guys, so we'll do it for a couple of more minutes, but I wanted to get to the Brave series since that's our next series. Again, prior to the Rays series, I can find about 95% of Met fans thought we were going to get swept. Some of us probably believed it but didn't say it, but a lot of us did. And they surprised a lot of us. Yes, they were comebacks. Yes, it wasn't easy, but a win's a win, in my opinion, right? I don't care how you win. I just want to win. I don't care if it's 1-0, 10-0, 10-9. It doesn't matter. So when it comes to this Brave series, you're going to have Verlander and Scherzer. In the last 2 games, you're going to get Carrasco tomorrow, right? I think it's Elder. I know Strider's pitching in this series. I'm not sure the order.
I think Scherzer got the first game.
Oh, they switched it?
I think so. I saw it on the MLB app. I think
They
Scherzer was the
switched it
first
because I
game.
thought it was Carrasco.
I'm looking at it right now. Tomorrow's Carrasco. That's what they have.
Yeah.
My fault.
Oh, no, that's cool. Yeah, so it's going to be Elder against Carrasco. It's going to be Morton against Scherzer, and Verlander against Strider.
Yeah, I clicked on the wrong game. You guys are right. No, you guys are right.
So, pitching matchups at this point, I don't know what Verlander's going to do. I mean, Scherzer's been pitching better. Carrasco's going to be pitching better. But Carrasco hasn't faced the lineup like the Braves either lately. So, we'll see. But when it comes to this series, I'm going to give the pitching matchups to the Braves just because Scherzer has been looking better. Verlander had a better start. Carrasco has looking good the last couple of starts. But I'm going to give it to the Braves. I think it's hard not to. And we all know about the Braves lineup. They're always dangerous. And Acuna is having an MVP type of year. So I'll give my prediction last since I want to hear your guys' opinion. What do the Mets have to do in this series in particular to give themselves the best chance of winning these games? Because they can beat the Braves, all right? The Braves lost to the A's, right? The Braves, a baseball team can lose to any other baseball team. It's just a matter of being hot at the right time. Pitching needs to be better. Hitting's got to be, everything's got to work out to win a series in any particular series. So I'm going to start with Keith here. What do the Mets have to do to play well in this series? They can play well and still lose 2 out of 3 or get swept. But what do they have to do? What are the keys to winning this series or playing well in this series and have a chance against the Braves? And what is your prediction in the 3-game set?
I think the one thing the Mets have to do is pitch well. I think one thing about the Mets this season is that our starting pitching, it's been better of late, but overall it's been subpar to what we expect. And I think against this lineup, you have to pitch very well. I think all 3 starters minimum have to touch the 6th inning. I know we're like 15-1 or something like that when we go into the 6th inning. I think that's the main thing starting off, because even with our anemic lineup, we could have won at least 2 of the games we got swept in against the Blue Jays with terrible offense. Let's be honest. We could have actually won all 3 games if we're being honest.
Pitching was great.
Yeah, the starting pitching will always keep you in a game. So that's number 1. I'll start with that. Number 2, what we've been harping on. Guys got to make sure that you work counts. I can't stress that enough. I think this is the biggest series of the season for Brandon Nimmo, because if you look at Brandon Nimmo, his home and away splits, he's a much better player on the road. So this is going to all start with Brandon Nimmo. And I think if we see the Brandon Nimmo of 2022, it'll trickle down throughout the entire lineup. Personally, I wouldn't dig too deep into the lineups, because I think you're going to get a steady diet of what we've been getting of late. You're going to get a few kids, maybe 1, maybe 2. He's going to probably DH Vogie here and there, and we might see a Narvaez appearance probably twice. Wouldn't be surprised. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if he has, Pete Alonso 1 through 9, like 9 Pete Alonsos or 9 Nimmos or something like that. We got to have good starting pitching, and the guys got to work counts. And then the last thing, so I started with pitching. I got working counts, mainly Nimmo, the key to the whole series. The last thing, I know you mentioned it earlier, Rob, but for one series, just one series, I need Buck to push the right buttons with this bullpen. Just one series. Mess up in Pittsburgh. Cool. I'll be less angry. Don't mess up in Atlanta. That's it.
Yep. All right, Chris. Oh, Keith. What do you think the Mets? What do you think the series is going to be? You think the Mets going to win the series, lose the series, swept? What do you think?
Oh man,
Say it. You got to say it.
the Mets are gonna somehow win 2 out of 3. Somehow, by the horseshoe of their ass, they'll figure it out. I don't know
Positive
how,
vibes.
but
I
they'll
love
win
it.
2 out of 3. And I think unfortunately, if they do win 2 out of 3, they'll go to Pittsburgh sleepwalking, and then they'll wake up for the Yankees. That's just how I think the team is, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. But go ahead, Chris.
All right, Chris. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, you hit on the key points. You hit on the key points. One thing that I'm really worried about is the bullpen. I'm talking about, if we get 5 out of any one of the guys, 6th inning, 7th inning, we know what we're gonna get out of Rayleigh. We mostly know what we're gonna get out of Vino. David Robinson has been absolute nails this season. Love David Robertson, sorry, not Robinson. But what are we gonna get out of early bullpen relief if we need it? Nogosic. Smith has been inconsistent as well. That's my biggest worry. I think that Carrasco, I'm not confident in Carrasco. We'll see how he fares with a better lineup, like you said, Rob. I'm confident in Scherzer. I think that Verlander turns it around with this start as well. Verlander had a great start his last outing as well, and the offense didn't come through for him. So I'm not worried about the starting pitching as much as I am with guys like the early bullpen guys, really. Dominic Leone, one guy that I could go without seeing probably for the rest of the season, right? Drew Smith, when he's on, Drew Smith's pitch locations really irk me because he loves to rear back and throw it over the heart of the plate, and somehow he gets swings and misses on those 97-mile-per-hour pitches. But if a hitter connects with one, he's toast. But we'll see. I think the bullpen is going to be a big thing. We'll see how Carrasco does. If listen, I've been ragging on Carrasco this whole season, right? I've been ragging on him. I didn't know why they picked up that option because I wasn't fazed by what he did production-wise last season. I know he won a bunch of games. I think he's losing it a little bit. His velocity is starting to come back. If he puts a great start together in this Braves series, I'll buy some stock back in on Carrasco. I'll buy some stock back in. Listen, I'm just going to say it. That's it. We'll see what happens. The lineup, we'll see. These guys, we know who we're going to be getting. We know we're going to see Bogle back at some point, right?
Mm-hmm.
More often than not.
He's
We know
playing
we'll
good
probably
lately.
see Vientos for one game maybe, right?
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. Vientos is another guy. Like we can sit here all day and say, hey, why isn't Vientos in the lineup? I want to play the kids as much as anybody else, but he's got to prove it too. I was listening to your show the other day, Rob. You were saying it. Vientos hasn't looked great either. He's pulling off pitches. His favorite thing to do is ground out to the third baseman so far. So I need him when he had that Rockies game when he was spraying the ball all over the park. And I'm going to say this the 4th time I'm saying it. If these guys are hitting opposite field, they're hitting the outside pitch and going with it, they're all dangerous hitters. But when they're pulling the ball, Pete Alonso's consistently pulling the ball. They throw him an outside fastball that he's pulling to the shortstop. Not going to be successful. I want to say the Mets take 2 or 3. I want to say the same thing, Keith. I don't know. We don't play the break. I don't know. I'll be devil's advocate.
Have we
What was
won
that?
Have we won 2 out of 3 in that part? Like we did
Not-
last year, right? Didn't
We
we?
did
I
last
think
year.
we
I
did
think
last year early on in the season, but that sweep at the end of last season haunts me, man. It haunts me.
Yeah.
Like I'm sorry. I want to get over it, but it haunts me. We just needed one game there. I'll say I'll oppose Keith. I say my heart says they take 2 or 3 in Atlanta. They step up to the task. I think that you said this is the biggest series of the season so far. I completely agree with you. This can be a game changer. I said it with the Rays series. We kind of saw the energy that they carried over into the Guardians series. I say they take 2 or 3. I'm hesitant to say so. I'll say they take 2 or 3. I say they keep it rolling with Pittsburgh, Yankees, whoever's coming up as well in those series. I think that this is the turning point. And if this isn't a turning point, I don't know what will be. Like, I think that this is one of the series that, like, Buck Showalter, whether he's going to be on the hot seat or not, I think it depends on the series. It's 30-30. It's 60 games in. It's a good sample size to the season. We can't say it's April anymore. We can't say it's May anymore. It's June baseball.
Yep.
We know how the Mets fare in June.
Oh yeah.
We need to see something turn around here. And I say they take 2 or 3. I'll say maybe we lose tomorrow night, and then we take the last 2 games of the series with the Aces showing up. That's how I predict it. But I'm really hoping for a competitive series. I think that early bullpen relief. I need to see Rayleigh, Otto, and Robertson in the game as much as possible. If we can avoid Dominic Leone at all costs, I'd love to do that. And yeah, that's how I'll predict it. So
I
I'll pass it
agree
off to you, Rob.
1,000% with Dominic Leone. I'm sick of that
Yeah.
guy.
All right, so there you go. So Keith, Chris, 2 out of 3 against the Braves, and it's not a confident 2 out of 3 from both of them. It's optimism. Pessimistic, I guess we can say. But you know what? I agree, Chris. It's the pitching. And this has been, I think this team would have been a lot better if the pitching actually showed up for the first 2 months of the season. I think it would have been a lot better. And I think it always comes down to pitching. I know we always talk about the lineup, and people were freaking out about Vogelback being in the lineup every day for 2 months now. And, it seemed like everybody just stepped over the pitching when it was so bad. And I mean, it wasn't even good. It was so bad. And with the injuries, the suspensions, the inconsistency of the rotation, and then the bullpen, and pitching is the key. And there's two things that I'm going to put as the key. I think Marte is going to have this best series of the year. I think if he gets going, this team's going to get going. Just like I said earlier, it's going to get the Mets going here. And I think it's going to help Lindor as well, only because I just feel like these guys are going to step up. Like I just feel a certain way that I think they looked pissed in the post-game interview yesterday. Nobody, even Pete Alonso didn't have a smile on his face, and he always does. His goofy ass always has a smile on his face, win or lose, always with the positivity. There was no positivity coming from his mouth yesterday, and that is rare. So he's pissed. We just hope they take that anger onto the field. And how about for once, the New York Mets punched the Atlanta Braves in the face like they did to us in September? How about that? I want to knock them on their ass where they have 2 months of two bad months because we knocked them on their ass. How about that? How about they have a June swoon for once when the Mets always seem to have a June swoon? I think the Mets are going to actually show up. And again, they can play well and lose the series. But you know what? I'd rather see them play well and lose a series than play bad and have no chance. Because then you could say, all right, they played better. The Braves are better than us right now. Okay, great. And they've been better than us, right? You can never take off a team from the mantle until you take that mantle away from them, right? As a division. I will never pick the Mets to win a division until they actually win a division.
I agree with that.
The Braves. And I think too many people saying, oh, no, the Mets are going to win the division. The Phillies are going to win the division. Stop it. All right? Until you do it, the Braves will always have that title until you take it away. So,
I agree.
2 things. Marte is going to be the key to this game, in my opinion. I think he's going to get this team rolling. And I do think the pitching, if they show up, the Mets are going to be in every single ball game. It's just a matter of, are they going to get that big hit that they got in the Rays series, that they got in the Guardians series, that they got in certain part in the Philly series, basically. Even though it was basically one person that actually did the damage in Canna, but they got the big hit. That was what they did last year. It was always that one person. Oh, wow, that guy got the big hit. That's what they got to do. Get the big hit. And I hope they can do that. Because let's be honest, if the Mets are the Mets and they work the counts, you can easily get the Strider. Strider strikes out the world. But when you take pitches and you frustrate him on the mound, you can beat him.
We have his number.
Yeah, and that's in his head. I can tell you that.
Mm-hmm.
I was at Citi Field when they faced the Braves and they faced Strider. When the Braves scored, I think, 5 runs in the first inning, he gave that lead right back.
Yep.
He's a guy that got electric stuff. Nobody's going to deny that. But he is a guy that if you get into his head and you take the counts and you foul off good pitches, you'll see him walk around the mound. You see him, step off. All this crazy stuff. You get into his head. So that's one guy. I get that. We got Elder, you got Morton and everything like that. But in my opinion, the Mets pitch well. They'll be in every ball game. They just need the big hit. And Marte is going to be the key to this series, and I think he's going to have a big series. So I'm also agreeing with you guys. And I'm probably a little bit more optimistic, very little, more optimistic than you two guys in saying 2 out of 3 because every time we think this team is dead in the water, right? We said multiple times after the Brewers series early on, people are already calling for the season and over at the first 12 games of the season, 10 games of the season.
Right.
After going through that road trip when we couldn't beat bad teams, coming back home to face the Rays, everybody thought it was over. Every time we thought they were completely dead in the water, they surprised us. Every time this year. And they came back down to earth again. Like the Philly series, everybody's like, "Oh, look at this! That was shocking. We swept the Phillies, and then they did what they did in Toronto. I think they're gonna win 2 out of 3, and it's gonna be a confident 2 out of 3 victory in this series because I feel. And again, I started this channel as one of the most negative Met fans known to man. In 2021, when the Mets were leading the division for a decent amount of time, and they never looked like a good team, but found in a way to lead in the division. I was the one guy that's saying this team's not winning the division. They don't look like a good team. They just happened to get lucky for the first couple of months, and then we saw what happened in 2021. And I felt that way, and then I started to think, you know what? When Cohen finally got an offseason to himself and did what he wanted to do, got Scherzer, got Canna, Escobar, Marte, bringing in veterans with a couple of our core guys in Nimmo, McNeil, Alonso. I was like, all right, you know what? Maybe this team could do something. I didn't think 101 wins, but we also have to remember this is a very similar team, minus the pitching. Similar lineup. There's no reason why this team can't be a 90, 95 win team. There's no reason why this team shouldn't make the playoffs, especially in a bad National League, right? Where are the Padres? I mean, Jesus. Where are the Phillies, right? Philly fans were already setting up the parade in the offseason, ready winning the World Series, right? The Padres spent a lot of money. The Phillies spent a lot of money. The Mets spent a ton of money.
Oh, yeah.
None of these teams are doing very well. But the Mets have a chance here. They've been hovering around 500, a little bit below, a little bit above, and they're in striking distance in the division, barely, but they're in striking distance, right? Only a few days ago, they were 3.5 out. Now they're 5.5 out. In the wild card, what are they? Half a game, game and a half out of a wild card spot.
Yeah.
They're in the mix. All you got to do is be in striking distance of any playoff spot because it doesn't matter if you win a division anymore. We all know that now, right? It'd be great to win a division, but it didn't work out for the Dodgers or the Braves last year either. So you can win all the games you want. You got to get hot at the right time. And I think this is the point, like Keith said, this is the most important series of the year. This is probably going to make or break the season. If we get swept, I don't know how this team recovers. They got punched in the mouth again, and I don't know if they're going to recover in the next couple of months. I don't think so. Even if
they get swept, we're going to be doing a lot of these shows in a different tone.
I'm telling you right now, it's going to be a lot of cursing again. But
it's a good point, though. It's a good point, though, Rob. Like, just stay in striking distance. That's why I'm like, I'm definitely questioning going into the Braves series, but I'm not going to sit here and completely, be negative and sort of say, oh, it's going to be a sweep. I'm not ready to do that. I think 30-30 record speaks for itself and what they are. It's a true 500 ball club. If you stay in striking distance at this point of the season, obviously the tone changes if you get swept here, right?
Yeah.
But even if they lose 2 of 3, which I really wanted to say that the Mets were going to lose 2 of 3, I'm not going to lie to you. I really wanted to say that because that's where my mind's at. That's not where my heart's at, but that's where my mind's at with the way this team's been going. I'll put you, 6.5 games back of the division or 7.5? One of those. And even at that point, I'm like, that's still manageable, and that's still that's one win streak away to getting right back in the division.
Correct.
So stay within striking distance. Wild card, listen, we know that we don't need to be a division winner to get to the postseason. It helps you if you're a division winner, but Phillies got there with the wild card last year. Mets can do the same thing. So I get it. You're out. You're the New York Mets. You're spending the most money in baseball. I'm not here to instill any loser mentality. I want to win the division. But as long as this team is in the playoffs at the end of the day, I'm going to take it. I think everyone will take it in this chat. Everyone who's watching this will take it. And one thing that I'm going to just point out, I really want to see how the Mets do against Charlie Morton. With the team that's struggling with the off-speed pitches, especially down and away, I want to see how they handle that curveball. I know Charlie Morton's not going to blow you away with his fastball or anything like that. I want to see how they handle his curveball. He's going to be throwing it more often than not. He has the big hooking curve. So that's just one thing I want to point out. But yeah, just stay in striking distance. I completely agree with that notion for sure.
Yeah. All
I
right,
just
guys. Yeah.
before you
I'm
go, I
sorry.
just want to like if they get swept and they lose 2-1 in all 3 games, I think it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Just put it like that. If they're in striking distance in every single game, all right, it is the Atlanta Braves. Like they're probably gonna win the National League if the Dodgers don't win, in my honest opinion. So listen, it is the big dog. It'd be nice if we show up against the big dog, but the manner of which they win or lose the next 3 games to me tells me
Matters.
more than the result, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because if
Agreed,
it's out of our
100%.
control, if it's one of those things where it's like played great 8 innings and it was just a good pitch and a good hitter made a good swing on a good pitch, like Vladimir did the other night. It's baseball. It happens. It's just it will be outraged and we'll be pissed and we'll be fuming, but it happens because then there's nothing you can control at that point. But if they win all these 3 games and they do it by just getting through the hair of their teeth, we will have fans saying, well, we got a few breaks here and there, and I know you need that every season, but if they go and then they really win and they make a statement, like Rob said, and they punch them in the mouth, like have them have a really bad, June and stuff, then I like that, So it's the way they approach the next 3 games. If they lose the first game, I expect them to bounce back with Scherzer. I think Scherzer's been pitching really well lately, so I think Scherzer's doing it. I think Scherzer won't lose that second game, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. And it's funny because if we win 3 games and we got a lucky bounce or something like that, and it was a bad bounce and it was an error and we won the games in weird ways, but we won, you're gonna be excited, but you're gonna be like, oof,
Right.
we could have easily lost those 3 games as well,
Right.
just like the Blue Jays series, right? We should have
100%.
we could have won one bounce of a ball, we could have won all 3 games. And but you know what? If we sweep them, which I don't think any of us think that can happen, but it's baseball. Who knows?
You never know. Yeah, you never know.
This game is not played on paper. This is the one sport where anybody can beat anybody any given day. It's just that simple, right?
Oh yeah, 100%.
It's very hard to see that in other sports most of the time, maybe hockey. But with that said, the New York Mets need to come in pissed off. I'm not saying just be pissed off and squeeze the bat as hard as you can and swing for the fences. Get back to your ways that won you ball games. Even this year when you were playing decent in the first 20 games of the season, when they looked like the team they were last year. Get back to what got you 101 wins last year. You don't have to be exactly like that, but how about this? How about scoring first inning runs? Maybe that will change everything. We've been outscored by about 40 runs in the first inning.
I'll take a scoreless first.
Yeah.
Honestly.
How about we get the top of the first. We get to put runs on the board first on the road in Atlanta. Get to these pitches in the first inning. I guarantee that I'll change the whole game. Guaranteed. Because when the Mets score first, I think they're probably like 13, 14 games over 500 when they score first. Let's get that done. Get first inning runs here.
I agree.
So guys, again, all of us pick 2 out of 3. Skeptical 2 out of 3, but I think it's not really positivity, even though we're trying to some positive vibes here in this negative stream, since we were all complaining about everything, which they deserve 100%. But it's not necessarily positive towards this team. It's just that this year, I think we, like I said earlier, this team is, every time we think they're completely dead in the water or just down in the dumps, they surprise us. And I think they're going to do that here. Again, they can play well and lose 2 out of 3 or get swept, but play well and give us a little bit of confidence saying, all right, they played better. They hit well. They pitched well, but the better team won in that series. How about just that? That's what I would like to see. So, Keith, Chris, say your final thoughts. Let everybody know what you're going to be doing on your channels, on your podcast, and let everybody let them know. Keith, go ahead.
Yeah, so me and my brother were recording our episode actually tonight and probably editing it tomorrow so that we can drop Wednesday. That's the goal. So episode number 10 of the Shay and Sons podcast will be dropping this Wednesday. We are going to be talking trade targets. So keep that in mind. We are at Shay and Sons. Check us out on YouTube. We have all of our visual episodes there. We also are on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, all that good stuff. You can find us anywhere. Just type out the whole name, The Shay and Sons Podcast. And, hopefully you guys enjoy what you hear.
Yeah, Chris.
For sure. Yeah, I do a lot of Mets post games on my channel. I go live right after a lot of games. I know a lot of other channels do as well. I'm going to be starting a Mets Day After show with Amish Country Mets fan Nelson. Shout out him sometime later this month. So be on the lookout for that. I got Spotify as well for the audio podcast. Do a lot of YouTube stuff. We'll host some spaces occasionally here and there. But a lot of Mets stuff, not only Mets. I cover Giants, Knicks. I'll be going live probably tomorrow for the NBA Finals as well. And yeah, just keep a lookout for more content. We'd love to do another show. We can talk maybe some trade targets, maybe Mauricio talk. I know we didn't get to it today, but that's definitely a topic for discussion. So definitely can't wait to check out that podcast episode, Keith. And if we want to talk about it amongst ourselves, we can definitely go ahead and do that as well. But yeah, sounds good. I appreciate it. This is a lot of fun. Thank you for having me on, Rob. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man, absolutely,
Rob, this was really nice. I appreciate the invite, honestly.
Absolutely, man. And again, you guys are always welcome. Again, anytime. I tell you right now, if you want to talk Mets, anything, on your channel, podcast, anywhere, doesn't matter. I'll be there. You guys were nice enough to come on my channel. And again, I would love to do this weekly if we all have time. I know we have crazy schedules. I know Hayden wasn't here today, but he's going to be a part of it. Subway to Shay. Anthony, nice. Also, but he was busy. I believe he was doing a video today and doing editing something that he was doing, some content he was doing, so he couldn't make it. But if we can have, it's going to be like a roundtable discussion, just talking Mets. If we can do it weekly, we can all come up with a time. In the group chat, we talked about it a little bit. So if everybody can work, we will all work it out. That would be great because again, I found you guys. I started seeing you guys on Twitter and YouTube and all over the place. And I started to watch. I was like, these guys, one, you know what you're talking about. Again, we're not going to agree on. We're not going to agree on everything. That one. Right? We're not going to agree on everything. Obviously, we all didn't agree on the Buck situation. We had our own opinions about that. But I respect your guys' opinions because it ain't bullshit that's coming out of your mouth. And I think that's important, especially on this channel. I always said this from the beginning I started my channel. I will always be real with everybody, even if you don't like my opinions. And I appreciate that you brought your opinions out there no matter what anybody else thought, because it's what you believe in. And we all love this team. We're all passionate. And that's why I thought you guys are awesome and great. And, hopefully we can do this again and with the other two guys that we just talked about. But I do appreciate, guys, follow, subscribe.
Thank you.
These guys, I'm telling you guys, these guys know what they're talking about, and you heard it firsthand here. And I'm glad the people who subscribe to my channel might have just seen you guys or heard you guys for the first time. Check these guys out. I'm telling you guys, they know what they're talking about. Even though you don't agree with them, respect the passion of these guys because it's legitimate. And I think I saw you posted something when you went to Citi Field the other day.
Oh, the chicken sandwich?
Yeah. It was funny. I was loving it. So
you guys got to go give it a try. Actually, my brother said it was really good. I don't think I could do that because I might have heartburn for 2 months. I don't know if I can do that.
So, yeah, guys, I really do appreciate it. We'll talk in the group chat. Maybe we can do this weekly, whatever day. We'll figure it out. Mostly on off days will probably be the easiest thing since everybody doesn't want to be talking the whole time during a game. But once again, follow, subscribe, all that fun stuff to their channels. And I will be doing a live stream tomorrow for the Mets and Braves game. So Braves fans, bring it, please. I love it. And so I will be doing that tomorrow, obviously a half hour before the game for the pregame. And then I'll do a live stream throughout the game. Hopefully we get some good baseball tomorrow and the rest of the series. So with that said, Chris, have a great night. Thank you guys for tuning in. And let's go Mets, baby.
Let's go Mets, guys.